It's Your View happening right now live on Newsroom Africa channel 405. It's your Sunday edition, and on Frank Conversation tonight, our guest Zwelinzima Vavi of SAFTU, and we are talking all things about the state of the economy, the state of the unions, and the state of politics. So we just come from the January 8th statement, which really is supposed to give us a sense of what the ruling party is going to prioritize in the year that we are coming into. It pretty much sounds like it's going to be the government agenda. I mean, pretty much that's all it is, except for one or two or three items that have got to do with the party itself. But one of the things that they are saying is exactly what you were raising as we were going out into the break, that they want to curb the monopolies, especially in the townships, so that they can allow the bigger shops, you know, those retailers that used to be owned by families that have now left, or we see now all these big chain supermarkets that are filling up our township. Give me a sense of what do you think, where did we go wrong, and where did we miss it, and how do we get back to those particular establishments?
Two things. In our view, the ANC, the movement, got captured by the white monopoly capital ahead of 1994. And that's the capture that nobody wants to talk about. Capture meant abandoning the Freedom Charter, abandoning the economic demands in particular, that says the wealth of the country shall be shared amongst all who work it, and that the mineral wealth beneath the soil shall be owned by everybody. Abandon the demand that says the land shall be distributed to amongst all those who want to work it. And once the capital achieved that, they grew more confident. And that's why they lobbied strongly that the first Minister of Finance must be Derek Keys, and with his normative model, economic blueprint that have been developed in 1990 by the National Party. And unfortunately, we have been into that economic strategy developed by de Klerk in 1990 until at this moment. It's kept on changing from GIE to ASGISA to NDP and all of the things. But it is the framework. The framework is exactly as it was drafted for us ahead of the 1994 breakthrough. We are loyally there, and that's why this is then the second problem. Combining that loyalty to that, the loyalty to that framework, which is anti-black, anti-poor, anti-working class, you then have a twin problem: inability to implement bad or good decision. So even if sometimes you hear something very interesting, for example, ASGISA, many of us argue, had we done the things that were said there, at least we would have seen more industrialization. One of the goals that really inspired me, Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka used to say this over and over. Our goal must be that we can identify every poor family and identify one person that we want to sponsor, put her or him into a program to go to school, university, so that they come back, those kids, and save the family.
Yeah.
It's a practical experience, all of us know that. Can't implement, nothing. Can't implement half measures. The only thing that I know the ANC implemented fast and very effectively was the scrapping of the scorpions. Beyond that, it's a battle. We repeat the same thing over and over, and nothing ever comes out. So today we get told, as if this was not said in Merck report of 1992, 1993, that we need to deal with monopolies, as if the RDP didn't speak about the same thing, or they're ready to govern. No, we're repeating that as if South Africa have just been created yesterday. And that's the sense, you know, when people are aware that they are dealing with people who are believing anything that the leadership is saying, we have no sense of history. We do not track down developments from when they started, and do not have that ability to keep the leadership accountable on the basis of a 20, 30 years lifespan, then the leadership can say everything as if it is new in every January 8. So that thing is very good that they're saying. But will they do it? Will they eventually take us into this township black economies that Comrade David Makura has been speaking about in Gauteng? Will they reopen the shops? Is there a training program to get those people who clearly have no skills to be trained to run shops effectively? Will they regulate the monopolies? Properly.
Do you get a sense that that report of the Competition Commission is going to be challenged by those monopolies? Because the Competition Commission has said, we've done our investigation, this is what we found, and this has got to be reversed and got to be addressed.
It's the growing arrogance of these guys. What must they fear? Look, Chief, you were here and, before 1994. These guys feared that these guys coming from exile will come with their gun blazing, and that they're going to be implementing this Hoho document we've feared for our lives. The wealth of the country shall be shared, and the land shall be shared. They feared that. They feared that these guys are going to implement a 40-hour working week, and that they're going to make sure that the apartheid spatial development that destroyed, and that black people are not anymore staying on the other side of Soweto, and that they are brought back closer to their places of work. Once they saw that Derek Keys was their man to continue with the old agenda, they grew arrogant. And that's why now they're beginning to say, give us ESCOM, give us SAA, give us every state-owned enterprises. We'll run it ourselves because you guys cannot do that. And unfortunately, the failures of the government have meant that even the progressive solutions to the crisis get so discredited. I mean, one of the demands we have been championing as a left is for the nationalization of the mines. But that is so hard to argue and win a discussion, in particular amongst the affluent middle-class people. They will immediately retort to say, hey, you can't run ESCOM, you've just run SABC down. You now want mines to do the same to them, and everybody runs for cover. I mean, there are so many examples where you feel that these guys are actually destroying a progressive agenda in the country, just through sheer corruption, incompetence, and then at the center of which becomes the real capture at the ideological level.
Let's talk then about what is your feeling about the politics of the country in the last couple of minutes that we have. I mean, a Workers' Party, something that was tried in 2019 May elections, it didn't succeed. Nobody took up the idea. I mean, people just didn't vote for the party.
Look, the issue of a Workers' Party is an issue that is now firmly on the agenda of SAFTU for a discussion. We've not taken a decision. We have taken an in-principle decision that says there ought to be an alternative to this. And that alternative is a socialist system. There ought to be a solution to this barbarism of greed and of me first and to hell with everybody else. And the alternative to this is solidarity and the social justice. And that discussion has been sparked by the reality that we're not getting. I mean, we're marching and we're going to be marching this year, but the reality is that the more we march, the more our people are getting deeper into the unemployment crisis. The more we raise these issues in the debate, the more inequalities grow. We have not been able in a big way shift the discourse. Of course, we can only shift the discourse if we have to accept that the reason why the left have become so weakened in the country is fragmentization. I mean, we have 4 federations. All of them, by the way, weak, each one of them very weak, almost irrelevant. But worst of all, when there are 4 of them beginning to compete against one another and leaving out 76% of workers outside any kind of trade.
So are you saying, in a sense, the success of a Workers' Party would would be hinging on the fact that you would need to unite as
There's no other way. I mean, if the working class cannot unite and hope that they can win elections just because the leadership knows the line, forget it. That's not how politics work. The politics work on whether you can appeal to the broadest section of the working class, you can convince the middle strata, you can win over small, medium, macro enterprises, people who are up to here with the paying 7% interest rates at the time when everybody else in the world is paying 3%, and therefore you shut out of becoming a player in the business. If you win all of those sections of community into an idea that says, but we can defeat individualism, we can defeat careerism, we can defeat selfishness, we can lead the society into a different direction, then maybe we will have a chance. But as long as we remain fragmented as the left, as long as I once said to the Central Committee of SAFTU, we're happy to being the biggest dwarfs in the crawl of the dwarfs, we're going nowhere.
Yeah.
The egos that we have seen in the recent times where some people think that they are me first and nobody else, and I cannot be led by anybody else except that I lead me. I cannot listen to anyone else. I must listen to my voice only. There's no chance of cooperating with others on the basis of that. You will see that you will march until you walk next to your shoes. Yeah. Nothing is going to change except our country getting even deeper into the quagmire it finds itself today.
So how does that work in an environment of, well, an ANC that is declining? We saw a slight even decline even in this election. The D8 did not do well, but of course there is an EFF with a younger voting crowd that is growing.
The ANC is declining by 4 to 5% every election. The ANC have lost the working class, it have lost Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, have lost Joburg, Ekurhuleni, and have lost Tshwane, Pretoria. Is sitting on 50% on the economic heartland of South Africa where the working class reside. And that decline is irreversible. No Ramaphosa will change that. Bring back Zuma, he's not going to change that. As long as the fundamentals that we spoke about earlier have not changed, that unemployment will continue to worsen. Poverty, inequalities will just continue to worsen. No matter how beautiful the speech is delivered in Kimberley, it's not going to change that course of history. Here is the problem of the left. As one communist from Italy put it, called Gramsci, the old is dying, but the new cannot be born. So in South Africa, the second largest party is another liberal party of white monopoly capital. The third largest party is at 10%.
Yeah.
Just think about, realistically, 10% of a minority of voters. Yeah. Who are still hoping that the electoral politics will change their situation, are still voting. But in reality, in South Africa, you know that the majority of the citizens who are in the voting population have long given up. They started to give up after the first 5 years of Nelson Mandela.
We are completely out of time. We'll have to invite you back again to
Thank
come
you
and
very
continue this conversation. Much appreciated. Thanks for coming through and spending time with us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. That's it. That's your view for this evening. Until we speak frankly again tomorrow night. Goodbye and God bless.